Humans were built and bred to have our 2 feet firmly on the ground, but there are those of us who scoff at this. Swimmers. They defy the laws of nature, taming the perilous depths humans have long feared and training their bodies to exist in the closest thing this Earth has to an alien planet, the world beneath the waves. A team of these individuals exists right here in St. Stephen. They spend all year from the blistering heat of July to the freezing blizzards of January, perfecting their form in the pool. The winter months are no excuse to fall out of practice, and swimming is a great way to stay in shape.
I would say the best part of swim team is probably the community and just being in the water swimming. The biggest challenge is probably the mental aspect, kind of wrapping your head around just swimming, because most of swimming is mental and you just have to really push past the mental blocks and just keep going. I think people should join the swim team. It's really fun.
You join the swim team?
You can join the swim team by going to the entryway at the Civic Center, talking to the people at the office. You can talk to one of the guards, or you can visit our swim team Facebook page, the Shark Attack swim team.
Swimming has given me lots of opportunities. I've been able to compete internationally at a swim meet in Montreal last May, and I also got to compete at Canada Games Trials. My favorite part about being on the team is just the dynamic of our team. Since our team is so small, we're all really close, and yeah. Yes, I would recommend swimming to other students just because swimming is a really good life skill to have, and competitive swimming can open up so many doors for so many different people. The biggest challenge to overcome in swim team is probably just realizing that you're not always going to swim the best, and that sometimes that's okay. I think, yeah, people should join the swim team. You can join the swim team by going to the Civic Center and talking to the receptionist at the front desk, or you can talk to the lifeguards. There's also a Facebook page, I think it's called St. Stephen Shark Attack.
Swimming is a hidden gem in the world of sports. Many assume it's nothing more than splashing around, but ask any swimmer and they'll tell you that it couldn't be further from the truth. A full body workout is in store for swimmers as they fight against the resistance of water from all sides. And it gets even more intense when you bring breath into the equation. To increase speed, swimmers hold their breath between strokes for as long as possible and push their lungs to the limits. Let's hear from an expert.
I think one of the best physical benefits is that it is non-load bearing. It adds flexibility, dynamic range for all joints in the human body. It's a great cardiovascular exercise, so aerobically, it's empowering. As a general rule, I believe that swimming is probably one of the best exercises that an athlete can do for their flexibility, their strength, core strength specifically. I think core strength is transferable to almost every sport that an athlete can actually do. Swimming, more than any other sport, I think demands a high level of core strength and flexibility. Without either one of those, you can't be that successful. Swimming is the kind of exercise that you can do for a lifetime, I think is the best way to describe it. You can swim an entire life with a range of motion, non-load bearing. So as you get older, swimming would allow people who have some mobility challenges to continue to exercise in a world that, if you fall in the pool, you just get wet. If you fall when you're trying to exercise outside of a pool in that kind of environment, you could potentially injure yourself. I think that swimming from a lifetime of sport would give you that flexibility, that dynamic range of motion that is, movement is life. And as you get older, the musculature, the bony structures all kind of start to reduce in range of motion, and swimming is a sport that or just as a pastime, you can benefit from.
We've dived into the aquatic realm of our local sports to prove their sheer intensity. If you even have a tiny drive to join the nearly amphibious students on our swim team, don't waste time. The swim team can always use more athletes to brave the waters, and you can join them by asking the front desk at the Civic Center.
Being an early riser is also an important factor in that equation. Atlantic Spotlight might be more for those who like to sleep in. We are very fortunate here at St. Stephen High School that we have a TV production program, and through the program we've been able to develop a second TV show, Atlantic Spotlight. The mission of Atlantic Spotlight is to travel around the land of Atlantic Canada, covering music, performing arts, and special community events. We get to interview the who's who of the music and film industry, and we've been putting St. Stephen on the map as a small crew covering these incredible events across the East Coast. Since we began in August, we have shot 9 episodes, finishing Season 1, and have since planned Season 2, filled with much more talent and fun community events. Covering these events have given our Spartans the opportunity to create such tidal impacts on the East Coast performing arts scene. Let's see what our personal interest and tech wing teacher, Mr. Legg, has to tell us about this outstanding show.
Atlantic Spotlight came from an idea from a student who wanted to branch past Spartan TV to do a bit more in the summertime, and so I naively said yes, fleetingly understanding how much time that would consume of my own. But from that, we have created quite a spectacular show. Some of the challenges of doing a student TV show is schedules, getting students to the events, getting funding to get us to the events and cover the events, and just the responsibility, because it's not just a school TV show where if we don't produce something, it's not the end of the world per se. We have people who are dependent on our footage with these shows. So there's a neat sense of responsibility that inherently helps students with their progress and their development, which is a wonderful thing. But that also creates its own barriers because of all the logistics and everything that goes with it. Funding is one of the more challenging parts, yes, because as a school, when you reach out to different organizations to support you, they say, well, the government should support you because it's a school thing. However, it doesn't really fit the school scope because we operate through the summer. We have university and high school kids operating. So although it's a student program, it definitely exists without outside that sort of traditional scope of what a school program is. So that's been difficult. Thankfully, we've paired up with Brilliant Labs, the STEM company in New Brunswick, who has been very helpful in getting us some gear and helping us get to events. We've done a lot of contracts for people around the community, pictures, videos, things like that. So that money goes into a kitty and helps us get to events and get more gear. And we've paired up with Department of Fisheries and Oceans, doing some content for them. So along the way, we've been very fortunate, and different organizations, like I said, Brilliant Labs, Tourism MB sponsors us for all New Brunswick events, which is wonderful. Post-secondary education, training and labor bought us a really expensive camera when we headed to the Junos last year. So yeah, it definitely takes a lot of pieces to make something like this work, and a lot of time, a lot of effort. But the impact is definitely life-changing, and it directs kids on a path that really wasn't there before for kids around Atlantic Canada. So we're sort of changing the landscape. So in that sense, it's worth the effort. So yeah. I think Atlantic Spotlight allows students in New Brunswick to tap into passions, whether you're going to be video or whether you're going to go into journalism or being a doctor. It's about the soft skills, thinking on your feet, problem solving, researching, coming in prepared. So developing a foundation of knowledge before you enter an event, before you interview an artist. And those are life skills that are applicable to any career choice. And the fact that New Brunswick schools are moving towards more student-centered, student-driven course selection, passions, interests, this is just coming at the perfect time. So it is the hope that more schools and students will have the opportunity to develop programs that may eventually lead to a program like Atlantic Spotlight. That's not a starting point. It took us, I ran a middle school TV program for 14 years, and then I came to the high school. I've been running this for 3 years. So it's intensive. It takes a lot of time to get to the place where you can do a show like Atlantic Spotlight. The journey's been well worth it, and the students who have been a part of the program over the years have benefited immensely from it. So definitely encourage anybody, any schools or students to pursue and want to tackle such a endeavor.
With the help from our school and partnerships, our crew has been able to venture through so many impactful events, such as FIN, the Atlantic International Film Festival located in Halifax. It was such a breathtaking experience to interview huge film directors like Clement Virgo on the red carpet. Other students were also able to go on the excursion of Music Celebration Week out in Corner Brook, Newfoundland and Labrador, exploring the wonder and speciality of the music of the warm and welcoming province of Newfoundland. Come the beginning of May, we have a large team of students heading off to Halifax, Nova Scotia, where we'll be covering and indulging our ears into phenomenal Atlantic-made music at the East Coast Music Awards. While the physical portions of these projects are the base of putting an episode together, going out, shooting clips and interviews, it's the post-filming work that really brings the whole event together on the screen in a beautifully assembled cover of that event. Luckily, the crew of Atlantic Spotlight has amazing editors who have the patience, energy, and problem-solving skills that make them exceptional at what they do.
I got involved with Atlantic Spotlight through Spartan TV. I sort of joined up with them late last year, and it sort of just evolved into this. I started editing when I was tasked with making a BB Tech mini doc. Some of the big takeaways that I have from working on Atlantic Spotlight is staying dedicated to the work that's put in front of me. It takes a lot of work to edit the videos that we make. Some of my highlights from working on Atlantic Spotlight was when we went to Newfoundland in September to cover the Music NL Celebration Week.
My name is Amber McLaughlin, and I'm a videographer and host for Atlantic Spotlight. So pretty much I was just a part of the program of Spartan Productions before the whole concept for the show came about. And since I was already one of the higher ups in the whole program, I was invited to join it on multiple occasions. My first one, I believe, was the Harvest Festival up in Fredericton, which was a really good time. The biggest takeaway for me personally is that connection with human people, because a lot of the sites we go to are the festivals and where people gather, and especially with the certain one we did, the Our Amazing Place, there was just so many different people of different cultures and kinds, and being able to intertwine and interact with them in such a way where we get to ask them questions. There's two main things that were my favorite. There was up in Fredericton for Harvest Fest, the busker acts were incredible to watch and be able to get such different angles of them doing flips and doing handstands on gigantic poles. And then secondly, just the whole Our Amazing Place was honestly such an eye-opening experience. And just the energy these people had was the highlight of that whole trip, really. And it made me feel a part of something, even though I was just videoing from afar. Overall, I think this is just generally a really great opportunity for both us as the viewers and the people as a community to see all the things that happen around the Maritimes, because as someone my age, you don't really think of all the things people are doing, but being able to go out there and see it all has been genuinely eye-opening.
Atlantic Spotlight has been a part of many storytelling events. On our path, we've told countless tales from those all across the Atlantic. We hope you follow along this incredible journey with us over the coming summer to capture countless more of our East Coast's amazing talent. Now, let's join Evan and Maddie with our very own MLA, Kathy Bacchus.
My name is Kathy Bacchus, and I'm the MLA for St. Croix. Oh my goodness, how long have you got? What are some of my favorite things about Charlotte County? Everything. I think the people, first of all. People are so kind and warm and friendly. It's almost like a family atmosphere. It doesn't matter where you go, whatever part of the community you're in. My husband's mother's family was from Charlotte County. It was a Maxwell who grew up on the Oven Head Road behind Aussie's, and at that time Aussie's was just a little shack that sold clams, and he ran a ham radio over the back of it. My husband used to go up as a kid, talk to people from all over the world with Aussie on his ham radio. But some of my favorite things, well, it's just the peace, the tranquility, the scenery, the ability to go for a walk in the woods, go for trails along the river, go to the seashore, travel to Campobello Island, go immerse yourself in history in Macadam. Just keep going. There's lots of things to love about Charlotte County. The middle of everywhere, yeah.
And you worked in journalism for many, many years, producing newspapers. What do you think you learned from this experience?
How to listen to people. That's what journalism is all about, and that's what being a politician is all about. Listen to people. What are their wants? What are their needs? What are their goals? What are their dreams? What are their aspirations? How can you help? My passion in journalism has helped me in politics because I think everybody's got a story to tell. Just remember, there's always two sides to every story, too. You have to listen to people, and you have to find out what they want and find out how you can help them. Just go from there. Do your best. I guess that's all you can do. It's all anybody can do is do their best. So what does a day in the life of an MLA look like? Well, I suppose it differs for all the MLAs, depending on their riding. But mostly I work with people, trying to solve their issues and problems, working on a lot of projects. And then you go home and turn around and come back the next day and do it all over again. Day in the life of the legislature versus a day in the life of me here in the riding. Start with the riding. It's a big riding. I try to get to as many events as possible. If it's an anniversary or a special occasion or a grand opening of a business, a festival or like Chocolate Fest or International Fest or Family Days or whatever, I try to get to as many of those as possible. But when you're driving from Macadam, which is, trust me, 100 kilometers because I put it on my mileage from my house. And then if you have to go to St. Andrews and then going to Campobello, because we don't have a permanent ferry, we have to either drive around or go with the seasonal ferry, which I'm very grateful for, come here to St. Stephen. So it's busy. And I do try to get to everything that I can. And if I go to something and perhaps leave early, it's not because I'm not interested, it's because I have another event that I have to go to. That I really appreciate people calling and letting me know, or emailing me or texting me or messaging me on Facebook to let me know what events are happening, because I don't want to miss anything. I don't want people to think I don't care. And that's where the journalism background comes in, because we used to tell people when I worked at the newspaper, I'd rather hear about something happening 10 times than not hear about it at all. So, and then versus the legislature, it's a lot more formal atmosphere, strict rules and regulations and procedures and things that we have to follow. But it's a long day. Sometimes we're there from 9 in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. We do have a lunch break, but it's a lot of procedural things, a lot of bills and motions, and of course the question period's always interesting with the back and forth there. I usually stay up in Fredericton because I don't like the long drive, and you know what the road is like from here to Fredericton, twisty-turny and lots of creatures on the road. So I stay up. So usually we get done at 6. I go back to my hotel room. And I can't tell you how many craft dinner cups I've had for supper in my hotel room. But then I answer emails and make phone calls. And just the other day, I was in committee most of the day. And then we had a caucus call, which was our MLA party. We had a caucus call that began at 8 and it got over at 10 to 10. So sometimes they're long days, but you know what? They're worth it because we get things done. Some of the things that we do or that we handle day to day in the office here in the constituency, if people perhaps have had their power disconnected, need help with lodging, if they have property assessment issues, Jillian and I have always talked, and we say our job is to connect those people with the people who can help them. So we kind of act as the middleman. We sort of analyze what they need and then try to get them the right help to solve their issue. Find solutions. We're the solution people. If we can. Well, you're right that being an MLA is more than just a one-person effort. It takes a team, and I have a wonderful backup person with Jillian Scott, who's my constituency office assistant. She goes to the wire for people. She really researches. We touch base every day. We're the go-between. We're the place where people come for help. Most of the time we can, and if we can't, sometimes there aren't issues that can be solved. That's unfortunate. For the most part, we do. But how do I unwind? It's not easy cutting things off. I mean, if you've been dealing with an issue or several issues, or you're working on a project that you really want to see happen, it's hard to leave it at the office. My husband jokes that sometimes I'll sitting there at 10 o'clock still answering emails or on the phone, and he'll say, threaten to take my phone away. He doesn't. Married way too long for him to... He knows better. You do need time for yourself. And I find a good book or a good Netflix movie or series and a cup of tea, and I'm happy for an hour or so. And then I go, well, I should really answer that email so I don't have to do it tomorrow. But it's hard, though. It's hard because you want to keep doing things and you want to keep doing it, but you have to take care of yourself, too. I was inspired by, or I am inspired by, Dot Larson. Everybody knows Dot. She's our favorite crossing guard. I got to know Dot a lot better than, I guess, a lot of people. When I worked at the newspaper office, she would come in every Tuesday and Thursday to pick up her newspaper, and I would drive her home because, you know, she had a long walk up the hill. And so we'd get chatting, and I learned a lot from Dot. I learned patience and not to be in such a hurry. My favorite thing about Dot is when she'd leave and I'd say, well, see you later, Dot, have a good day. She'd say, we'll make it a good one. Yeah, and I had a lot of people that inspired me too. I mean, Elsie Wayne was a former mayor of St. John. She started her political career as a housewife in Glen Falls, and she was mad about something about the flooding in Marsh Creek, and she thought she'd do something about it. So she went ahead and got mobilized, got on city council, and then went on and was an MP in Ottawa. And of course, Greg Thompson. He was the MP here for a long time. It got me into politics because I went to work with him, an assistant in his office, just as Jillian is in mine. I said, I don't do politics. He says, you know the people, you know the issues, you know the area, from my work as news reporter. So I said, okay. And one thing that always stuck with me too. I said, Greg, I'm not going to ask people who they voted for when they come in that door looking for help. And he goes, no. He said, once the election's over with, everybody who comes through that door deserves our attention and help. And that's what I've done.
So you think Greg was one of the major reasons that you moved from journalism to politics?
Well, he was the reason, because he hired me to be his office assistant. And then when he unfortunately passed away, the party asked me to run the riding. And I thought, you know what? I always felt I was an advocate for people as a reporter, because you can bring the issues to light. I'm just continuing along that vein, just at a higher level perhaps, helping people with issues. Some hopes for the future of Charlotte County. I just hope we can continue to make this community, or these communities, this area of New Brunswick, a place where people want to live, raise their families, work, retire, and just enjoy themselves. Keep doing what we're doing. That's right.
Among New Brunswick, there are many talented musicians. Loyal Tides Music Collaborative is a St. Stephen-based group of like-minded artists and music lovers. Hosting monthly coffee houses for the community, they give musicians a chance to get on stage and shine. At these monthly coffee houses, musicians and music admirers alike join together in celebration of music and to have a great time.
How do I feel about how music affects communities? I think music is a great way for people to connect and express their feelings together. How does music affect me? I listen to a lot of music, so it's kind of helped me find everything about myself through all the genres. I think my favorite part about the coffee house is that it's a place for everyone to go and just be there and listen to good music and eat food, which is pretty good.
Well, the coffee house affects the community because it is part of the community. It brings the community together. And I'm absolutely amazed at the variety of talent and that people come out and just do their thing, which is absolutely wonderful. It affects me personally because it's a good time, always a good time. And coming from Ontario we moved here 5 years ago, it's an absolutely wonderful sense of community. You would not get this in Ontario, and this is what makes home home. My favorite part of the coffee house is the variety. And the fact is that people will just get up, whether they're very talented or just like to sing at home, they'll still get up and share.
I think the coffee house affects the community. It gets people out, and people enjoy listening to different types of music that the people come and play here. And there's all kinds of different, like you get young people and you get the older, different kinds of music, from country, rock and roll, and folk music. And then people enjoy that. And it's a place to go out and for the night there's not too many places in St. Stephen that you can go and enjoy yourself for, for a night. It affects you that the people that come out, like I said, they enjoy the coffee house, and they enjoy the different acts that come out and play. And everybody gets a chance to play. Whether you're a professional or not, you can still play at a coffee house. It's not a hard crowd.
Something's living where you can't say die. Feel like laughing, but you start to cry.
Their mission is to uphold and revere local music. A big part of putting on these events is folk rock singer and songwriter Hayden Weeb. Hailing from Manitoba, the young musician has a deep connection with music, and recently it has been progressively making its way into the lives of others.
Some mentors I've had throughout the years have mostly been through guitar teachers. They really were kind to me and really motivated me to get better and then to do more. And then as the years have gone by, it feels like the amount of mentors and people in the industry have just grown. So there's a lot of more mentors. Yeah. Some advice I would give to emerging musicians would be to keep in mind that every show is not going to go as planned. You may feel really good after some shows, you may feel really bad after some shows, and the same goes with content that you make or recordings that you do or songs you write. And just remember that you're building off of something, so you're always going to get better. So even if you've had a bad gig or feels like a song you wrote was not what you wanted, it's only going to get better, so keep trying. Yeah. So some challenges I've faced in music, mainly the biggest ones have been with timelines. I really like to get things done fast, and that doesn't always happen. It's not always practical. And so the reason it hasn't stopped me is just because there's been a lot of support around for musicians, and just reminds me to keep trying and be patient. Yeah. Some moments that have deeply affected me in a music event, honestly, most of the times it's watching someone play a concert and just feeling the room being dead silent and everybody's tuned in. And there's something about being an audience member, and there's something about being a musician that's really special about those moments. Yeah, one of the things that led me down the path to starting the coffee house was actually as a musician starting out. I wanted a place to play, and there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities. So I thought, well, let's start something that anyone can come and play at. And that was really my only motivation for starting. And as it's grown, it has become something bigger than what I had started. And now it seems to be an event that people love going to. So it's really grown in that way, which I'm happy with. Yeah. An event like the Coffee House can have a big effect on the community, especially we do it in the winter months when there's not a lot going on and it's hard to get out of your house. So something like this can really affect mental health, and just the community can have something to, watch and cheer on. And I really like that we have lots of different age groups at the event too, so that's a really big plus for me. Just, so the Coffee House is the second Friday of every month in the winter months, and the doors open at 7, and it's really fun. If you want to play a song or two, you're welcome to do that, or you're welcome to just come in. We do take donations, but there's no pressure there, so just if you haven't been yet, it's a lot of fun, and it's worth a try.
After a nice night and a successful event, artists have been given a chance to sing on stage, some for the first time. Part of the community has been slowly brought together by their love of music and performing. With other episodes done, many more adventures still await. A big thank you to all those who took part in this episode of Spartan TV. Help us become the most followed school TV production program by liking and subscribing. You can find us at Spartan TV or Atlantic Spotlight. See you next time.